To chat with Omoni and Gozi. We're still at home. It's still quarantine or lockdown, depends on what they're calling it where you are. And you know, everyone's pretty much tired of it. Everyone wants to go back to the way life was before the coronavirus, but alas, we're still stuck at home. So we're trying to make the best use of the time that we have at home, trying to do stuff with the family, trying to stay positive, stay happy. A lot of people are saying that they're unhappy. A lot of people are saying that they're depressed. You know, many people in these trying times are really having a hard time. And the young people are not totally removed from it as well. So today, Gozi and I want to talk about something that is affecting a lot of teenagers, which is depression and suicide, as a matter of fact. So Gozi, what do you think depression is? If I were to ask you what is depression, what would you say it is?
Well, I think depression is just having like extreme sadness for like a long period of time. Just like, you know, always being sad all the time usually, right? And depression usually, as people see it, is when people just like, yeah, when you're just having overwhelming sadness like all the time, you know? So that's basically what depression, basically the definition of depression.
All right, so you're overwhelmingly sad and it's persistent, right?
Yeah.
And is this something that you can get out of? Is this something that's easy to get out of? Because I know people that are depressed say there's a general lack of interest or loss of interest. They don't want to do anything, they don't want to go anywhere, they're just
actually it depends on what is causing the depression, because you know, some people, there's nothing actually going on in their lives, you know, they're just everything is just normal, you know, nothing really that bad has ever happened to them, right? But the depression, they're just depressed all the time. And usually with people like that, it's like people who have clinical depression, right? But also you can have other people who are, you know, something has happened, like a tragedy, you know, like a sibling died, maybe a parent died, a friend of theirs died, right? And things like that, I'm not gonna say it's easy to get out of, but at the same time it kind of is, because after a while, you know, it's just gonna be used to, okay, this person isn't around anymore, you know, I have to move on with my life and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And most people end up doing that, right? They may once in a while remember this person and be sad, or you know, they can go to the person's, you know, grave and pay respects, and then it could be sad again. But for the most part, they get over it in a matter of like a few months or something like that.
Okay. So I think what you're trying to do is differentiate between clinical depression and should I just call it intense sadness?
Yeah.
You know, so some people are clinically depressed, which means they actually have a chemical imbalance. Which is what's causing the depression. So they can't put their finger on it. They can't say, this happened, that's why I am so unhappy, or that's why I'm depressed. But they're just depressed for no reason. Life is seemingly okay. You know, they have money, they have family, they have love around them, they have all these things, but they're just intensely unhappy, and they sort of have a loss of interest in life and other things, right? So those people are clinically depressed. Those ones, it can't go away. You can't just wish it away, or time won't take it away. You know, you have to actually seek help. You actually have to have medical help because there's a chemical imbalance. People like that would probably need to be put on medication, or
that's right,
they would have to speak to a doctor, to get out of it. But a lot of what we're seeing today are people who are not clinically depressed, but they're just unhappy. Things have happened to them. It might not even be something as intense as the loss of a loved one.
Yeah, like a lot of people who are depressed, maybe nowadays, it might be people who are like, let's say people are just broke. You know what I mean? They've been trying their whole lives to do something, and they've been trying to get good at it. Like maybe they found their passion. You know what I mean? Like they found this dream job. It's like, oh, I wanted to do this since I was a kid, right? But that thing that they're doing is not making them money, right? And they're still broke and everything like that. So they just feel like their entire life, they've just been wasting their time their entire life, right? So they can actually start to feel extreme sadness every day. And I'm not saying that it could be the cure for that sadness, but if they did actually become successful, they may not be depressed anymore, right? And people say that, people might say that, depression, you can't cure depression with money and things like that, because people with money are still depressed. But some of these people, they might actually stop being depressed if they actually got what they were looking for their entire lives, right?
So that thing that is making them unhappy, because they don't have that thing, when they have it, they'll become happy.
Yeah, it could happen that way.
It could happen that way. Okay,
That's
so now let's really come down to teenagers and young adults, right? Because we've seen increasing numbers of teenagers and young adults who are depressed and even go ahead to commit suicide. I mean, it's that bad. So what do you think are some of the things that are causing depression, or should we say extreme unhappiness, amongst teenagers and young adults?
Well, the thing I think one of the number one things that's causing like extreme depression and sadness and things like that is just actually social media, right? Because social media, there's always you see all these celebrities and everything. They have all this, they have that. They're good looking or something like that, and a lot of these teenagers don't have that, right? And they're also on social media, and they get depressed because they feel like they need that to actually have true happiness, which actually is not the case, right?
Wow.
And that's why in the past, if you've seen like in the 20th century, things like that, when we didn't have social media, there was less suicide, you know what I mean? Like people could still be depressed, but they'd find a way to just, even like get over it somehow. Cause like they have a lot of people around them who could tell them that, oh, it's okay, you can talk to me, things like that. But a lot of these people, they won't trust, like nowadays, they won't trust the people around them, the good people in their corner who are telling them these things, because they think that the celebrities, they sort of worship those celebrities, right? So they think that the only advice they can get is from those people on how to live life and everything like that. And a lot of these people are just, they're celebrities because they did something, right, that gives them the money, not because they're philosophers or they understand the human mind or whatever, something like that. So they just, they can't really give you what you need if you want to become happy, right? They can just, entertain you or whatever. And that's what you got to take it as, the celebrities and them doing all these things. You just got to take it as entertainment. You don't have to look to them for advice on life all the time, unless maybe this celebrity is someone who does that, right? And that's the reason why they became a celebrity, right? So maybe you could do that, but most times that's just not the case.
Okay, yeah. So you're saying it's okay to like these celebrities, it's okay to see their lifestyle as nice or whatever, but don't try to model your life after theirs, right? Because yes, I mean, as Gozi has said, some of these people are people who just did something, made music, made a movie, made this, and became popular from that, or made some money from that. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're the best people. It doesn't necessarily mean that they suddenly know it all or have all the answers, right? So there are probably better people around you, your parents, your teachers, even your siblings, who, uncles, aunties, people around you who will be able to give you better advice or be able to lead you in a better path in life that you're not listening to, but you're now looking to those celebrities as, oh, because this person is so successful, it means they have all the answers to life. They probably don't, So I think it's also that pressure, it's a certain form of pressure. I don't know if I should call it peer pressure, but it's a certain form of pressure where you're looking on social media and you're seeing all this beautiful people. Oh my gosh, they look so stunning. Their body is perfect. They're so rich. They have all these beautiful cars. They have all these nice bags and shoes and all of this.
Yeah, and also you gotta realize that I know a lot of people have said this, but I mean, you just gotta accept who you are. You know what I mean? Because like the way you are is the way you're gonna be, right? For the rest of your life. It's not gonna change. I'm not saying that, I'm talking about like in terms of like maybe looks or something like that, because you know there's other aspects of life that you can change,
Of
right?
course.
But let's say if you're on social media and you're seeing all your friends, they're always posting in these pictures, everything, you think that, oh, they look so good, I'm so ugly or whatever. I mean, you can't really change how you look, all right? So you just gotta accept it because this is you. Like, you know, you can't. So the next step from that is like, what am I gonna do now? What am I going to, how am I going to put myself out there maybe just to, you know, just to be better, like just be a better person.
Yeah.
Like
so you're saying you can't necessarily change your looks, right?
Yeah.
But so you've got to accept it and love it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just gotta accept who you are. Just, yeah.
And love, like they say, love the skin you're in. I mean, there's certain things you can change about yourself. I mean, even in terms of your looks. If you're fat, for instance, and you don't want to be fat, not to say that there's anything wrong with people being fat, except, of course, if the medical reasons, then of course, you know. But if you're a certain size and you don't want to be that size, there are certain things you can do instead of sitting down and being unhappy and moping about and say, oh, I'm too big and I don't like being big. You can actually go on a diet, you can start to exercise, you can do things to change that, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, your face is your face, really. You know, whatever face you were born with, that's it. You know, accept it, love it, and don't start to be unhappy or start feeling depressed because you feel like someone is more beautiful than you. And, you know, because, I mean, a lot of these people, doing stuff that you might not be able to do. You know, a lot of these people, they've done nose jobs, they've put lip plumping things, they've pushed up their eyes and whatever, right? You might not be able to do it, you might not have the money to do it, you might not even want to go under the knife. So why not just love who you are? And a lot of these people wear makeup. I know I do. You know, sometimes when I'm going out and all of that, I wear makeup and you just suddenly look so gorgeous. And then someone is looking at you like, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. I wish I were as beautiful as that. Have you seen me without makeup? Do you know if I'm still going to look half as beautiful as that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So really, I'm glad that you said that. Love yourself. Know what you look like, who you are, and love yourself for that. So what are some of the other things you've seen that is causing extreme sadness or depression among young adults and teenagers?
There's actually a couple of things. It can also depend on the people you have around you. Like I've mentioned that before, and it could just be that, you know, people around you, if you mention to them, right, that I'm depressed, you know, I'm going through stuff and everything like that, some of these people might actually not even offer any advice to help you out. Like they might just say that, oh, you know, I've been depressed myself before and everything. They'll almost be like, oh yeah, it's okay to be depressed, you know, things like that. I've seen a lot of people who do that, and that's just not the right way to go about it. You know, you gotta have an actual plan to get yourself out of this depression. You can't be depressed forever, like, you know what I mean? And also, we have on social media, right? We have, it's almost like become like a trend now to be depressed. Like a lot of people actually almost feel like it's cool to be depressed.
Oh my gosh.
Like that. Like it's just crazy. Like a lot of people on social media, you know, they make this entire pages and things like that where they'll just be talking about, oh, I'm so depressed, you know, I'm always listening to sad music and things like that. And with things that you can't be delving deeper into depressed content, right? Just to make yourself less depressed. It's not gonna work. Like, you know, if you wanna become happier, I mean, this isn't a foolproof like cure, right? But at least you can't just make yourself more depressed. You can listen to happier music, things like that, watch more uplifting things, you know what I mean? You don't always have to be listening to depressed music just because you're depressed, right?
So it's almost like you're delving deeper into depression because now you're depressed and you're thinking, oh, this music is relatable.
Yeah, that's
because
right. Yeah,
it's depressing music. So it's you know, it's how I'm feeling. It's relatable. But listening to that music is actually making you delve deeper into depression, because that music is not going to make you happy if it's not a happy music. So instead of you to listen to like you said, uplifting stuff, you know, happy music, watch comedy, you know, things to make you happy, you're going into things that actually make people sad.
Yeah,
you know, so that's you not trying to come out of it, you delving deeper into it. So I'm shocked that you actually say there is almost like there's a trend, almost like there's a depression trend. It's almost like it's cool to be depressed. Like, why would anybody want to stay unhappy?
It's because I think it's because a lot of people are in situations that they think maybe they could not get out of, right? Like, let's say for me, for instance, you know, I love to play basketball and things like that, right? So let's say I'll just grind it every day. I'm trying to get better at basketball, right? But I'm just like so garbage. Like I cannot play, right? And I start getting depressed because I think I'm so trash at basketball, right? But then, you know, since I'm super depressed all the time, right? I just want other people to feel the way I'm feeling, because I feel like I can't get myself out of this situation. So instead of trying to get myself out, which is a lot of work, right? I just want to just take everybody down with me. You know what I mean? That's why people go around saying that, oh, who can relate to this? You know, when I wake up, you know, people making all these memes and stuff. It's like, oh, when I wake up in the morning feeling depressed or whatever, you know, when I'm depressed, I like to listen to the depressing music and things like that. You know, just to get everybody in on your whole.
It's almost like
thing,
misery
right?
likes company.
Exactly.
So let's all be miserable together.
Instead of actually
trying to
get
come
ourselves
out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. There are different ways that people who are depressed go about it. If you're clinically depressed, you need to see a doctor.
Yeah,
There's really no way to get out of that, because if there's a chemical imbalance, which is what's causing the depression, then you really need to see a doctor. But again, there are some people who are not clinically depressed, but they just find themselves really, really unhappy, extreme sadness, and it's just sort of not going away.
And the way to deal with that, the way I think you should deal with that, just by seeing how people react to different things. The way I think you should deal with that is to just set small goals for yourself. You know, like just don't aspire to just, you know, you can't just enter into the business world and just decide, oh, I'm going to be a billionaire like the next day, right? If you're not doing it every day, you're just going to be depressed, because every day you notice I'm not a billionaire, right? So just set small goals and everything, right? And like, that's what I do with myself too. Cause like, look at me, I'm not like super buff or anything, but you know, I like to work out, right? You know, I'm not, but so the thing I actually have told myself in my head is that I'd rather feel strong rather than look strong. You know what I mean? So that if I don't look strong, I'm not going to be depressed. So I can boast to myself basically that, hey, I can actually lift 300 pounds or something like that, right? Well, I can't do that, but it's just an example that I could lift 300 pounds, but I don't look like I can do it, right? But I can actually do it. So let's say I wanted to play basketball or anything like that, I'm not necessarily the biggest looking guy or the nicest looking dude, but I can actually play, and I'm actually super competitive, and I just go out there and grind every day. You can just distract yourself from any depressing thoughts that are just going to come in, because every day you're just grinding, just trying to get better step by step, just little by little, saying that, oh, if I want to, like, let's say you're someone who's crippled or something, it's like, okay, today I'm just going to walk like from here to here, and then the next day I'll walk from here to there, and then from the next day, you know, I'll be walking from long distances. Next thing you know, I'm running in a couple of weeks and things like that. So you won't just
setting small goals, and you're achieving those goals, because they're not like
step by
so
step.
Huge that, you know, you don't want to jump from today from here to there, and then you can't do it, and then you get unhappy.
Yeah, and
but when you're putting small goals and you're achieving them, it makes you happy because you feel like you've accomplished something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. And then also we talked about listening to happy music, not depressing music.
Yeah.
Someone who's depressed should not be listening to
sad
music.
That's what I'm saying. Like when you're setting ththose small goals and you're achieving those small goals, right? Along the way, just be having fun along the way. You know what I mean? Like just like if you're trying to get better at sports or something like that, you have your friend groups around you and everything. Just be hype every day. Like just every day, just being happy and things like that, right? Yeah.
And I must say here, before we forget, that drugs is not what's going to take you out of depression.
No, that's a no. Nah, don't go there.
Yes.
No.
So because some teenagers think, oh, I'm so unhappy, so I'm going to take a drug because it's going to give me a high, right?
Yeah.
But you see, that high is just for a short time.
Yeah, and then you're just gonna go right back into even being more depressed.
God bless you. So it's going to make it even worse, because once the high is over, it's like a drop, instant drop, and then you're so unhappy right after that. So really, that's not even helping you get out of anything at all.
Yeah, and that's also back to the thing about celebrities. There's actually a lot of celebrities that do drugs and things like that. And people know that they do drugs, and these celebrities look like they're happy and everything. But the reality is that most of them it's just not the case, right?
All of them. It doesn't make drugs don't make you happy. It just gives you a high for a period, and then it drops you. And then so if you now want to constantly be in that state, it means you have to constantly be on drugs.
Which is just going to make your body deteriorate
kill
until
you.
you're just going to be dead.
Yeah, exactly,
basically.
which is going to kill you. So that's an absolute no-no.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the other things that I've realized that sort of causes unhappiness or depression is people feeling like the world revolves around them. Right. So there's this sense of entitlement that you feel like, you know what, everyone needs to be checking up on me. Everyone needs to just know that I'm there, and they feel like the world should revolve around me, like So I feel like that causes a lot of unhappiness.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, people aren't just thinking about you all the time. Like, you're not all that. Like, come on now, ladies. Me personally, I love myself. I think I'm good at a lot of things. I think I'm a really cool guy and everything. But a lot of people just aren't thinking about me. Like, I gotta accept the fact that people have their own thing going on, right? They're grinding in some kind of way, right? Because a lot of teens around here, they gotta get a job. They gotta do this, do that. They have to. A lot of them. Now that there's we're all quarantined, that we can't do those things, but people still have other things going on that they do during the quarantine. They might not be on their phone 24/7. They might not want to check on you all the time, right? And they just have other things going on. So not everybody is always thinking about you, and you shouldn't always think that the world just revolves around you and everyone just wants to hang around you. And if people don't give you this attention all the time, then it means they don't care about you. Nah, that's just not it. Like, I know, like me, I know that, people know that your cousins, people like that, your family, they all care about you, like your extended family and people like that. They all care about you, but it's not every time that they're just going to be texting you or calling you or just like, oh, what's going on? So how much less your friends who don't care about you as much as they do, how are they just going to be checking on you all the time?
And you need to be okay with that.
Yeah, you need to be okay with that.
You need to be okay with the fact that people are not going to check up on you all the time. People are not going to run when you call all the time.
Yeah.
People are not going to be there for all your gigs and all your, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need to be okay with that.
And
that
even it might not even be that they have something going on. It's that they just don't want to call you. Like, it's not that they don't like. It's not that they don't like you. It's just that they just do not want to call you at the moment.
At that time,
it might even just be you that they don't want to call at that moment in time. But it does not mean that they don't like you
or they don't care about you.
They don't care about you, right? You can find that out when you see them in person or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's no point spending the whole quarantine just being depressed,
saying nobody's
sleeping
checking
all
up on
day.
me.
Yeah, things like that. You can't just
know?
be doing that like that. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I get that. I get
Yeah.
that. So the world doesn't revolve around you. You need to understand that, and you need to be okay with that.
Yeah.
That shouldn't make you unhappy, because that's how everyone is. Pretty much everyone needs to understand that it's okay not to have all the attention in the world.
Right.
Some of the things that I've also seen that can cause depression is like big changes, like let's say seasonal changes, for instance, or something like what's going on right now, the whole quarantine thing. People are not used to just being in one place and not being able to go out and all of that. So that can make someone sad. That can trigger that feeling of being really unhappy because you're not doing the things that you normally do, the things that give you joy or happiness or whatever. Some people derive joy from going to work every day, seeing their colleague and all of that, and suddenly they're not able to do that. So it can actually make some people very, very unhappy. So it's like big changes, Some people are just not wired to handle big changes. So that can make them unhappy, or like we said, loss of a loved one, or trauma, divorce. You know, for some people, like young adults, even moving or changing school, you know, can cause things like that. You know, I mean, I remember when we moved and you guys had to change your school. You know, I mean, it can make you unhappy for a while. I don't know if you want to talk a bit about how you felt that period.
Well, I mean, I wasn't obviously too happy about that. You know, some of my friends and everything. I started to like at first when I was in that school, like before we moved to Ontario, like I wasn't really getting a lot of friends, but like towards the end, you know, I started to get close to a lot of people, right? So then when we left, you know, I didn't really want to go because, like, you know, my friends were...
You now had new friends, yeah.
Right? And I was, like, super depressed and stuff. I came to my new school. I was like, oh, man, I'm not going to make any friends. But then later on, you know, they just, you know, people just came around. And I came around. I just eventually accepted the situation I was in. And that's how I was able to cope.
So you were unhappy and you felt depressed when we had to move, right?
Yeah.
And when we got here. So... what are some of the things that you did that took you out of that mood or out of that feeling of unhappiness?
Well, as I said before, I just accepted the situation I was in. I just decided to just get out of my comfort zone, you know, just talk to a few people and everything. I wasn't just like putting myself out there. I'll just stand up in the cafeteria, like, oh yeah, everybody, my name's Gozi. Hey, you know, come, you know, want to be friends? Like, that's not what I. That's not what I did. But you know, I just decided that I was just gonna talk to a few people, and yeah, that's how I just made a few friends.
Okay.
And then, you know, eventually those people connected me with others, and then that's how I started to, you know, just make.
So making new friends made you happy.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that you did. So you accepted the fact that I can't change this. We have moved. It's that I have to go to a new school. This is my new reality. I have to accept it, right? Yeah. So you accepted it first, and then you went out of your way to make new friends.
Yeah, that's what I did.
So those are the practical steps. Because I'm just trying to look for the practical steps of the things that you did to get out of that feeling of extreme unhappiness or sadness or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So really, it's the whole concept of not crying over spilled milk.
Yeah.
Because it's something happened, and you have to almost sort of categorize it. What can I do about this? If I can do something about it, let me go ahead and do it, right? So in your case, it was, I need to make new friends. So you went and you made new friends.
Yeah.
If I can't do anything about it, which moving, you couldn't do anything about us moving, right? I've got to accept it, that this is my reality. I can't do anything about this thing. So I've got to accept it and move on, you know, and be okay with it, right? So it's like I said, there's the whole concept of not crying over spilled milk. The milk has been spilled. There's nothing I can do about it. Clean it up or move on, right?
Yeah.
Because I think also another of the things that can get teenagers and young adults into some sort of extreme sadness or depression is dating, right? So when people feel like they're dating someone and now the person doesn't want them anymore or whatever, I mean, you see people like crying and being extremely unhappy and all of that, you know. So I think that's one of the things that gets young boys and young girls into this sort of extreme sadness, because now, you know, it's emotions are involved. You've had an emotional connection with someone, and now that connection has been broken, and you don't know what to do with those emotions. You don't know what to do with those feelings, right? So you end up getting into that zone where you're just so unhappy, and you can't get yourself out of it.
Well, the way you would actually deal with that is to, like I said before, just focus on yourself and your own goals and everything like that. Because, you know, if you just poured everything into some relationship that you have at like 16, 17, you know, in high school and stuff like that, I mean, you know, when it doesn't work out, obviously you're just gonna feel broken. Because, you know, if you put your time and effort into anything and it doesn't work out, you're just gonna feel sad, right? So what you gotta do is that you gotta have goals. You know, you gotta have other things that you're doing, so that even if that does happen, you can just use all these other things just to like get over it. Just brush it aside. Like, just be like, okay, we're not gonna deal with that right now, because like it is serious, you know, if somebody goes through a breakup or something like that, but it's not the most serious thing in the world, because there's a lot of other things that happen that are a lot worse, to be honest. And for you to just just be sad about that for weeks on end is just not reasonable. You just gotta focus on yourself and your own goals, things like that.
Okay, so because at the end of the day, most of those relationships are not going anywhere anyway. It's hard.
It's harsh, but that's just a reality. It's not.
Yeah.
Most of the times, nothing's gonna happen out of that. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah.
You're in high school or whatever. It's just nothing's gonna happen from that.
Pretty
usually.
much, most people didn't end up with their high school sweetheart. So
Yeah.
you know, so it's not like that relationship is your do all end all. You know, so if it doesn't work out, it's not something to be miserable about for weeks on end, like Gozi has said. I think the thing to get out of that, what she said, is don't put your all, your everything into a relationship in high school or in middle school or whatever. Don't put everything, like this is my all, this is everything. You know, you're talking to this person morning, noon, night, and in between. You know, you're just like there. You know, because if something happens to that relationship, then it's really going to break you. You know, you've got to be doing other things. You've got to diversify, so to speak. You know, your attention shouldn't be on just that relationship, because then if that relationship packs up, you're going to be completely shattered. You know, and that could lead to some sort of extreme sadness for a long time, right? So the trick is to make sure that you have diverse interests. You're doing so many different other things, which is what you're supposed to be doing at this age anyway.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing sports, you're doing music, you're doing drama, you're doing other things that make you happy. Don't base all your happiness on just that one thing or that one person or that one relationship.
Yeah.
Right. So in conclusion, to parents out there who are noticing that their kids are unhappy, you know, you're very unhappy, something is wrong, something is going on and all that. I mean, I remember at the time, Gozi, I remember the time you're talking about that we moved and you were so unhappy. You know, I remember talking with you a lot. You know, even when I wasn't here, I would, you know, video call with you pretty much almost every morning. We were doing video calls every morning, you know, talking through the whole thing. I mean, I knew that you weren't like clinically depressed, right? I just knew that you were just really unhappy, you know. So we'll talk about it. We kept talking. I'll be like, oh, Gozi, okay, why don't you do this? Why don't you go walk up to this person and talk to them? Why don't you do that? Or, you know, so parents have to take things like that very seriously. If you feel like your kids are unhappy or they're depressed, you know, talk with them, find out what's going on. If it's really bad, you can seek medical help. They might have some sort of clinical depression. But if you have now seen that it's not clinical depression, then you have to talk them through it. You have to get practical steps, because that's what even Gozi and I had. We had practical steps, like, okay, Gozi, why don't you try this? Okay, try it and let me know. Call me after school and tell me if this worked or if that worked. You know, so you have to have practical steps where you're practically going through, almost like you're going through life with them. You know, asking them what they're doing, suggesting things that they can do, you know, bringing happiness and stuff into the home, things to make them happy, you know, take them out, do things pretty much that they like. So that way, you know, they come out of it. You make them watch comedy with you, you play happy music in the house, you know, just maybe change the color of their room, you know, paint it a bright yellow, you know, just do stuff to make the kids happy. All right, so Gozi, what are your final thoughts?
So yeah, in conclusion, I can just say that if you have the clinical depression, definitely get help. And if your depression is not clinical, find the source of your depression and just try and get rid of it. You know, just either focus on yourself, or, you know, just accept the situation that you're in and just try to make something of it, basically. And yeah, that's all you got to do.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, guys, so we've chatted with you. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope you're staying home, social distancing. Please, let's all work together to flatten the curve so that we can soon get out of this quarantine or lockdown and go back to our lives before coronavirus. We love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.